All right, over to you, Sarah.
Okay, great. So everyone can see it. Okay, so my company is called FitWorks, and it is a occupational therapy company. I've been in OT for 20 years or over now, maybe. And the reason why I chose the name FitWorks is because I was part of the Ergonomic Society and went to ergonomic conferences and things quite a bit. And I was very heavily into injury prevention at that stage, having spent quite a number of years seeing quite a number of quite horrific injuries that could have so easily been prevented. So I chose the word or the name FitWorks because I was looking at injury prevention and how you fit a person to the workplace and the workplace to the person. So it was focusing on sort of the ergonomic fit of the person. So do they have to reach up high? You know, are they tall? Are they short? You know, what do they have to do in their jobs from maybe the ergonomic perspective, from a cognitive perspective, and a skill perspective, and that physical fit within the workplace, which has some links, Bronwyn, to yourself and what you were saying. As to how people choose their path and, you know, what skills and attributes that they can bring to it. And this goes a little bit also obviously into people with disabilities. How does that link with some of the skills and attributes that they have, or maybe the physical conditions that they have, how if they want to do a particular role, what are the assistive technology or equipment out there that they can, that you can provide them so that they can do the job that they want to do. So there's always ways around things, and it's amazing when you see, you know, people doing things, they don't have arms, but they're quite happy to type with their feet. So, you know, people are doing amazing things all the time in that space. So FitWorks started in, I set it up in 2010, and that is the name I gave FitWorks for that reason. And it also is, you know, fitness for the workplace. So I believe that everyone, especially in the trades, in a job where you have to manual handle, is you need to turn up for work fit for purpose and fit for the job. So that can be cognitively fit, or it can be physically able to do the job that you're. So if you've had a hard night, if you've had, you know, your child's kept you up, or you've had a few too many drinks, and you turn up for work the next day, like some of my young clients, they, you know, they are at more risk of injury because they're dehydrated, their posture's not great because they haven't slept very well, and all the risk factors are there for them to potentially sprain or strain something. So my journey, okay, well, yeah, I started work early, you know. I was babysitting 5-year-old twins when I was 12, but that's fine. So I was still at primary school, and I used to bring them home from the same primary school and look after them for their mother. So that was in Stratford. So started the workforce in good old Stratford in Taranaki. And during my years of study, I've been in retail, you know, swimming instructors, lifeguarding, a whole range of different industries. So I went to America and did my first degree, which was Bachelor of Arts in Sports Science, and started working with Special Olympics over there. Really enjoyed it, and found out about occupational therapy and came back and did Bachelor of Health Science and Occupational Therapy. So when I graduated from OT, started off with Burton's Healthcare, assisting people that had mild to moderate brain injuries, so which significantly impacted their lives. So they weren't, they were actually, it was called mild to moderate, even though they were quite severe in the difficulties that they were having But yeah, I started in Hamilton with Burton's Healthcare and then progressed to Tauranga and then ended up in Rotorua. So, and I joined, I started working in the space of assisting those clients with brain injuries to be able to return to work following their brain injury after a period of therapy where obviously we would be focused on memory and returning a routine into their lives, so some activity planning, etc. And that's how I got into the vocational rehabilitation space and then into injury prevention. I did work, you reminded me when you brought up Kiwi Rail that I worked in the Kiwi Rail health and safety team as the health and wellbeing manager nationwide. So that was a real experience and just fabulous working across 5 different business units. And then after that went to Australia for 6 years and now back. So that has been my journey. Hopefully you can see this. So what is occupational therapy? I have got that in the past and some people still don't know what OTs do. And I guess we have a very diverse range. You know, physios, a lot of people know, you know, you go to a physio for this or you go to a chiropractor for that. People may not be correct, as Victoria would know, what they think the treatment involves. But occupational therapy is similar but different because there's so many different avenues that you can take in, or practice areas that you can take. So OT is basically, it's a use of assessment and intervention to develop, recover or maintain meaningful activities or occupations. So people relate occupational therapy all the time to a person's occupation. And so when we say we're working with an 80-year-old, then I've had questions, well, but they're not working. What do you mean? So occupation is not particularly your occupation. It's what is meaningful in your life. So it could be gardening. You want to return to gardening after an injury, or you want to return to independence so you can live independently in your home, or you can cook. So it's learning strategies, because we all have different ways of doing things and we're all different heights, shapes, sizes, but yeah, different ways of doing the same thing. So even doing up your bra or ironing or, you know, making a cup of tea, people do that same task in different ways. And some people need to relearn that task to make it easier for themselves after they've had a stroke or whatever injury or illness they've had. So I don't, even though I was interested in OT regarding Special Olympics, I don't tend to work a lot with children and youth. I tend to work more in numbers 3 through 6. So health and wellbeing, a little bit with mental health, so mainly secondary diagnoses of the people that I work with, secondary to a physical injury. So that could be, you know, depression or chronic pain or things like that from having the original significant physical injury. So definitely 5 and 6, of course. So therapy goals, look, some of the goals that my clients have or that we've worked out together when we're planning is about breathing or relaxation, stress or anxiety management, sleep fatigue, memory strategies, if they have dementia, if they've had a stroke, if they've had a brain injury, or if they've been on significant amounts of medication that has affected their memory, and activity planning. Yeah, so I tend to sit down with a person, yeah, goal set, and then provide sort of a plan for them moving forward and a time frame for that plan and the ways in which they're going to achieve that goal and that plan. So it could be pain management, education, it's really, or it could be fitness goals, physical goals, exercises. So the list goes on and on about the types of goals that people have post their injury or condition. So different types of clientele. Again, it's sort of varied. The main people that I work with have had either orthopedic injuries or musculoskeletal injuries. So they might have fractured their leg. They could have a lot of back injuries, of course, because that's 80% of us over the age of 35 have some form of back issue or spinal issue on which may last up to sort of a couple of weeks or even longer. And obviously a lot of these injuries that I see are workplace injuries. In New Zealand, though, I've sort of got two hats because I could come in under that company's insurance company. And so some large companies like your Countdown, your Kmarts, things like that are self-insured. And so I come in under those companies or under their own company. And then a lot of times I come in under or via a company through ACC. So obviously I do a lot of, or work with people after they've had a lot of sports injuries, which we're lucky in this country that we have ACC, because in Australia, if you have a mountain bike accident, that you're not covered. You don't get 80% of anything unless you've got income protection. So it's only really work cover over there, predominantly. There's other avenues, but so yeah, a lot of workplace injuries, sports injuries, health management, yeah, a whole range of different clientele that I work with. So it's quite varied, which is good. Keeps me out of trouble. Now, health and safety, really big one. I do a lot of workplace wellbeing and safety sessions, which sort of incorporates into manual handling training. Fatigue management is incorporated into that as well. Workstation assessments, risk assessments, injury management, and specific goal planning for their health and wellbeing. The important thing around health and safety, which I've struggled with, and also being in or having worked with and in health and safety teams, is that a lot of the focus is on safety. It's ticking the boxes that the company want you to tick regarding the safety or perceived safety measures for the workers. But there's not a lot about health, I believe. And I'm finding that, even in society, especially at the moment, we're quite reactive, even regarding COVID, not proactive. So, taking measures for your own health also makes you safe, and keeping healthy and well, as obviously will decrease your risk of injury just as much as if you wear a yellow vest. So it's my take on it. Just because I've seen a lot of health and safety measures not really working. So risks for you and your workers. So if you've got poor posture, poor ergonomics, poor health management, there could be we've all got a level of stress or distress at the moment, but slips, trips, falls I see a lot in a range of places, even in office spaces, a lot of those. Bullying's becoming a little bit more in the forefront. It was quite significant in Australia. I was very surprised when I went over there 7 years ago, how there was a lot of bullying claims. And so in New Zealand, under the Health and Safety at Work Act, which I reviewed, I was actually the member of the Occupational Therapy Board that went to those meetings in Wellington to try to work on the 2015 rollout of the Act, and then I left for Australia. Then they didn't listen to us a lot, but anyway, it came out that every business has a responsibility to ensure the safety of themselves and their workers as reasonably practical. And others that attend that premise, for example, customers, visitors, or the general public, you're also responsible for, which is coming to the forefront at the moment. There's a link there which you can go on for your individual industries and see what the risk looks like in your specific industry. And therefore, if you haven't done this, I'd suggest you do that. And then what your responsibilities are under the Act to try to mitigate those risks. So really important you do that. That's taken off the ACC website, which actually has some good information on it. And so I work with some companies in terms of their presenteeism, which you may know what that is. You should know what that is. So that's people turning up for work and not really being present, and therefore not being very productive at all. They're somewhere else and are not really engaged in the job. And so obviously, therefore, they're not being overly productive. Absenteeism, of course, and injury claims. And so they all significantly affect businesses, especially small businesses, when you then have to fill that gap. Who do you fill it with? The difficulties recruiting staff at the moment, as we know, where Insight Security is still looking for workers, patrol staff, and so night patrol, and yeah, very difficult getting staff at the moment. So yeah, just have a think about all of these, and your health and safety system. So have you got a health and safety system? You know, is it set up? Are you mitigating the risk for yourself and your workers and your visitors to site? So these are the costs of injuries. So significant costs to date. So $684 million, all up to 30th of September. And they're all active claims. This is ACC. And that's by industry. You can see your industry. Obviously, yeah, how what the claims related to the industry. So construction and manufacturing and agriculture, I've worked with significantly and predominantly when I was in Bay of Plenty. And yeah, they've always been a lot higher, which is why there's specific ACC advice for them to try to decrease the claims and make people healthier and safer, or yeah, try to decrease those injury costs. Because at the end of the day, we want to go home the way that we came into work, if not better, don't we? So we don't want to come home with a sore back, or we've lost 5 fingers in the lathe, or you know, we've had a significant workplace accident. So what can you do? You can protect yourself. You can obviously look at your health and safety, and that's not just physical health, which a lot of mental health is not really has not over the last 20 years been discussed, but it's coming out now. So how to protect yourself and stay healthy, how to support your staff, match your skill set to the job description. So it's very easy these days to just get someone to fill the job, but are they actually the right person for that job? Have you done the correct induction education, safety measures, health initiatives, goals and progression, manual handling and workstation assessments? I think they're really important. Wellbeing discussions, toolboxes. If you've got obviously a large number of staff, it's really good to connect, especially at the moment on a social level, as well as just making sure that you're communicating with them so they know each step of the way, especially through navigating through these strange times. And obviously refer to me. So refer to a experienced workplace consultant. Have a look at what I can offer you, and if you've got staff, your staff. and we can come up with a bit of a plan on how to achieve your goals and make you and your staff a bit healthier and protect yourself from injuries. So any questions or queries?
Just one
I just
question.
bore you to tears.
No,
Yeah, no,
very interesting.
Yeah, I've got a question. I've seen an awful lot of people fall down and slip, like you said, often due to the mask wearing. And I have to admit, when I wear a mask, my peripheral vision and my sense of balance is a little compromised as well. And it certainly seems evident with older people. And yes, so I mean, this is something that I have actually witnessed in my local village, where I've actually seen people trip because of the perception of the step that they're going to have to take to step up. So yeah, so this is something that I've been thinking about. If we're going to have to keep this mask wearing thing going for much longer, that, you know, how to wear a mask.
That is actually really interesting, and because I've been in my little bubble and not really terribly focused, I haven't actually thought about that.
No, well, there you go.
Yeah, so yeah, and so what I'd suggest is obviously the type of mask is really important, and something that I brought up with a group the other day because I was asked by, you know, one of our workers to have a look at different, for insight, have a look at different masks because he was really struggling with the type of mask for his role. And it was just a bit heavy and couldn't breathe well. Well, I looked at some of the 3M ones. So I'd suggest ones that aren't, because there's some that are quite cumbersome, aren't there? And, you know, quite heavy. And so, you know, some of the lighter ones that pull away a bit more but still cover it might be suitable. But
and hot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, we had another worker who was getting a rash under his, so we swapped to the 3M ones, and yeah, it's perfectly fine. Any other thoughts on that, or anything else?
Just a question. The term presenteeism, it's a term I've never ever come across before, as opposed to absenteeism. So I did a quick look up to see exactly what it means, and how it was defined is that people that turn up for work and they stay and they work long hours because they're concerned about their work, I guess, or they're slower performers or poorer performers, but they're putting a lot of time into it, far more than what the average person does. And I guess that in itself is probably in itself a cause of mental anxiety issues because they feel insecure. So therefore they're putting in that unproductive extra time because they think that's helping them, but it's not. It's just creating more stress and anxiety.
Yes, yeah, presenteeism could be, it's almost got the two different people, the ones that stay longer and try to do it, or the ones that just are turning up for their designated shift, but they've got so much going on that they just can't be completely present or productive.
What? So, I was just going to say, Sarah, what do you do with those people, or what? Yeah, what do you help them with?
Well, it's looking at the reasons. I get the reasons why they are not feeling totally engaged or getting that workflow, and sometimes it's the work's overwhelming. There's too much work. So sometimes it's about the actual work that they're doing, and other times it's about things that are going on at home. So, or they're not sleeping, or so there are things that I can work with, and work with the company to also work with them on the other things like decreasing the load for a bit, or upskilling them so that they know how to do the work. Because they've just been thrown in the deep end and don't have the skills to actually do the work. Or, you know, I would look at things like sleep management and stress management and that health side of things first. That's normally what I focus on. Yeah. And send them to you.
All right. Any last question at all before we move on?
Just one quick one. It's just what you said at the end, that you send them to Victoria. Do you also work with psychologists and other people that can help with the mental health side of things? Do you have strategic alliances with people that can help, provide a holistic picture for your patients? You do, yeah. You're on mute, Sarah.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've got, just having been back from Aussie for the last 18 months, so just before COVID, I'm still learning about who's who in the area. And but I've definitely found people that are like-minded, that have got the same ethos as myself, and formulating definitely those alliances to make sure we provide that multidisciplinary approach, which is missing a lot in I think in New Zealand healthcare, for sure.
I'd like to just throw something in. I think there must be a real significant prevalence in sole operators, because I, for one, hands up, do I look after my health and well-being in my role? Probably terribly, quite frank, because it's only me and it is all on me. And there is times when I just sit and look at the workload and think, okay, yeah, I can structure a manager, but sometimes it's just not enough of me to go around. And there must be tens of thousands of me's in New Zealand, and that we're all running ourselves into the ground.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of it?
That's why we need to get a kayak and go kayaking, Nikki.
Not for 3 months.
No, that's all very well and good, but what Nikki's saying is she'll end up with still having all that work to do when she gets back from her kayaking. Hey, Nikki.
Sorry, Victoria, you had a question as well.
I just, in terms of sending people to see you, Sarah, because from my understanding, you traditionally or have been working a lot in businesses, but if, like, say I have people in my practice who come in who've had a fall or are recovering from like a hip surgery or something like that, can I just send them to you, or do they need to go to their doctor, or do I need to write an actual official referral? Or
Fabulous question. So if you don't know how to navigate, or you don't know which pathways or funding pathways to take that person on, I'd just get them to be in touch with me directly. And then I can figure out, obviously if it's an ACC injury, they should have a case manager. I don't have a direct ACC contract. I go through a company called TBI Health to do that ACC work. I think you know that. But if in doubt, just give them my card. You've got them at the office, and I'll be able to navigate that. And also, I'm very much depending on where they live. If I'm not the best fit for them, or if I'm not the best skilled for them, I'm not going to take on the work. I'm very. It's about getting the person the right help they need, and hopefully the funding to have that help, or it could be private, and then I obviously give them my rates, etc.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Awesome presentation. Okay,
That's great.
I'll stop recording.